Alright, so in this video, we're going to actually try to finish getting all the way to being able to upload a new recipe to our database. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this so we can see where we left off, and let's look at our to-do list. So, the first thing we need to do is we really need to clean up this new post page. We're going to start by fixing the edges on the new post view. So, we'll see what it looks like right now. This right here, see how it gets cut off and how this kind of scrolls all to the bottom. And when we open this, the modal half of it's not on the screen, so we don't want any of that happening. So, let's go ahead and start by just going to, we're in the new post view file. We're going to go to where we have, let's find it, right here, the H stack, or this V stack, right here. We need to go to this, where we have this Z stack, and we need to take this whole thing. So if we close everything up, we should see that this Z stack contains a V stack. And I can even just, let's really close up everything so you can get a good feel for what this looks like. Okay, so inside we have this V stack. So I need to take everything in that V stack and I need to put a spacer above it with a frame height of 65. Okay, and I know you guys are going to say, try your best not to use hard-coded values, but for now, we're going to use hard-coded values based off of the size of this and the size of this down here, okay? So I'm going to save that. I'm going to save it. I'm going to run it. Okay. And that should take care of that. So we'll figure that out right now. Plus. So first of all, that looks better up top, okay? Second of all, I can go here and what do we have? It all looks correct. So if we go, actually, this plus right here, everything looks a little bit better. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to, actually I need to, so something actually does not look right here. I take that back. So this height is not equal to roughly this height. So I need to actually take that, that lower spacer, and I need to put it inside. I'm going to put that as a default spacer in the half modal, okay? So if I go to half modal view, what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to create a new variable. And I'm going to say var, I'm going to say is, let's say, is near tab view. Okay, and I'm going to say it's false. Okay, but we will say that if we look at our foreground right here, what I'm going to do is we have a Z stack, and then outside of self content here, I'm gonna put self content. I'm gonna put that in a V stack. Okay, and I'm gonna say if, and I'm gonna find that variable tab view is near tab view. Then we'll put that spacer. Okay, so what that means is that if we're near a tab view, we need to bump this whole thing up 65 pixels. Okay, so I'll save it. And then I'll move back out. And before I take the time to rebuild this project, let's look at a couple other things we wanted to do. So looking at this, this picture is pretty ugly. So, well, relative to what we need it to be. So I'm going to start by going to that new post view. I'm going to go to that Z stack, and that's going to say, instead of time lapse, we'll have that say camera. Okay, and we need scale to fit to come before frame. I should have done that earlier. Okay. And it just has to do with how things will end up getting stretched. And then what we'll also want is, so this one is camera, it's like we wanted. And if we end up with the camera, we want to give it a padding. We'll put the padding after scale to fit, so padding of, let's say, roughly 130. Okay, kind of took the time to figure out what size we wanted that to be to begin with. So that padding. And we'll give it a, instead of this blue, this kind of stands in your face like that, let's do a 0.95 for that RGB values. Then the other thing I want to do is that plus circle fill. I want to give the radius, I want to make that radius just a little bit bigger. Okay, that is saved. And then, yeah, I mean that should look pretty good. I'm gonna also make this black. Once we pick an image, I want that background to be black, so we can really see where our image starts and ends. So let's look at that. Looks a little better. We hit plus. Let's pick an image. And I know we haven't gotten around to using this. We will, okay? And the reason I'm making you click cancel, I could make this cancel. I could make it so once you click an image, it goes away on its own. And I show that in a different tutorial. But the reason I'm not doing that is because we're actually going to want to be able to select multiple images and display them up here, okay? So here's this. Here's the image we chose to add, okay? Now, let's keep moving along. We want to kind of clean this up a little bit. So one thing I wanted to do, let's go look at this list. Make sure we don't get ahead of ourselves. Okay, that is fixed. Use the camera image, that's fixed. Okay, that's also good. The next thing I want to do is I want to get rid of these plus buttons. I want to make it down here, actually. I'm going to do something a little different. So I'm going to go to where we have those, this H stack, okay? If you remember, we put them in a Z stack just so we could put that plus. What I want to do instead, actually, is instead I want to actually put, before I delete this junk here, okay, before I delete this item by deleting this V stack, I'm first going to create the button I want there, okay? So inside this V stack, I have the text that says ingredients, then I have the scroll view, and then underneath it, I'm actually going to put one more item. It's going to be a text that says add new. Okay, and let's go ahead and just give that regular padding. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, and if we like what that looks like, we will actually move forward with it. So I like that add new right there, okay? That's exactly what I was hoping it would look like. So since I have that there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of, well, first I'm going to take this text, okay? Well, I'm going to take, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take this button right here. I cut that button, okay? I took that, and I put it right here, and I took the text and replaced the image with that, okay? And now I can just get rid of the rest of that V stack. Perfect. And which also means we don't need that Z stack anymore either, okay? So now if we run it, it should pretty much look exactly the same, but now that button works correctly. So, add new. Cool. All right, we'll repeat the same thing right here. So I'm just going to literally take, I might as well just take this right here. I'm going to take that information. I'm going to get rid of that V stack. Okay. And inside the other V stack, I'm going to put that stuff right in there. This is just going to be a text that says add new. Okay? Which means we can get rid of that Z stack that we had that was allowing us to overlay that plus button. Okay? Save it. And now that we have that going, why don't we go ahead and I want to get rid of this yellow and this green. I'm really sick of looking at it. So I'm going to make it white. And what we'll do is we'll change the color of the text on the left versus the right. Okay? So let's have stuff. We're going to make this background. It'll be clear. Okay? But the foreground color, we'll make it, let's say, what's a nice color? Why don't we look back at the colors we had on the new post to begin with? So, or I should say on the post view is what I'm looking for. Remember these nice colors that we created earlier. Look at that H stack. Let's go ahead and take a couple of these colors. So I like that. Oh, there you go. So let's take this green and the blue. I like the green and the blue the best, to be honest with you. So I want the prep time and the cook time colors. So I'm going to take that color. That's the prep time color. Okay. That's one of them. And then for the other one, I'll put the other color. So I'll take this color. And I will put it right there. That's what I want to do. I'm going to keep that so I can use it later if I wanted that background. So that should work. And then if I save it and run it, let's see what happens. Okay. While that's doing that, let's get rid of that. So, plus. So we probably want this to stay black. We want only these to change color. So let's just change where we have those. Take that foreground color. We'll save it. We'll just put it on that for each right here. So for each. Same principle with this one. Save it for each. We probably want to take that ingredients and maybe change the font. So the font. And we'll use dot headline. I like that one. I think that's a good one. Ingredients, steps. Okay. And let's do the same thing for the actual button. So add new, add, okay. Save that. And then when we click it, we should see that, just as we saw right there. This guy's a little off. We'll figure out why he's doing that in a second. Okay. So that should be good to go. Let's see. Seems like it's just a little bit right here. We don't have the padding that came with it, so we forgot to add padding. That's why. There was no padding on this one, so that's why it looked like that. So, saved it. And I'm going to do something a little... this actually is going to look pretty silly, but you're going to think it looks silly, but it's actually going to be kind of nice. So I'm going to take this, where we had that plus, dot circle, dot fill. Seems a little bit like overkill, but I'm actually going to make a Z stack here. Okay. And the reason I'm going to do that is I'm going to take the first image, and then I'm going to give it a foreground color of white. I'm going to take that same image, and I'm going to get rid of the fill, and I'm going to give it a foreground color of black, which will actually let us fill in that plus right there, okay? So just to make sure I know which one I want on top, I'm going to put the white one on top, okay? It doesn't seem like it would make that big of a difference, but I really think it would clean up that aesthetic a little bit. So the next thing we want to do is we want to clean up the aesthetic of the half modal, okay? So just one last look at it. I like that a lot better. It's going to be a lot easier to see. So for the half modal aesthetics, let's go ahead and scroll down to half modal. The half modal starts right here. Okay, it's this tiny little thing. Okay, we're gonna really overhaul it. Okay, so let us look at what I took the time to write out. So we're gonna start by putting a spacer on the top. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of this. Well, I'm not gonna get rid of it entirely because I'm gonna use a lot of it. So in that V stack, the first thing I'm gonna put is a spacer. It's gonna have a frame height of 15. Okay. And the next thing I want to do is I want to change the font of that title. So font will be dot headline. Okay. The next thing I want to do is for all the titles, I actually want them to be all caps. I like that better. Add a step. It's not as aggressive as you might expect it to be. Add an ingredient. Okay, so for the text field, what we want to do is we want to add a padding, but then we actually also want to add a background. So first, that text field needs a padding of 10. Then it needs a background of rectangle. And I want to have a corner radius of 10 and a foreground color of 0.95 all around. So kind of waiting for this all to catch up. Let's run this really quick and just see what it does. Okay, there we go. So dot corner radius 10, and then it's not bad at all. So this is kind of what we were hoping it would look like. I won't lie, I don't particularly like these colors as much as I thought I would. So I'm gonna keep these add news as they are for now. We'll probably shift around the aesthetics of this because this is not the prettiest, if I'm honest. All right, we'll go get around to that though. So corner radius of 10 for that, and then we'll have a background. We're working on the rectangle, so color dot init. I'm waiting for it. I'm just trying to get it to autocomplete that red for me. find somewhere where we had it. Right here, I wanted this right here. Okay. There we go. I'm just going to do 0.95. Save that. Let's look back here again. So now we did that. Now I need to give that a total padding of 20. I need to give like so, and I'm giving, so once I close that, let me just close that background so you understand where we are. Now, I'm actually going to give the entire text field, okay? The entire text field is going to have a padding of 20 afterwards. So that way, so you have to do 10 and then the color and then you have to do 20. And the reason we do that is because it's going to color this 10, but it leave this clear, okay? Ordering does matter. So lastly, we need an image down here. I'm just going to copy and paste that to write this all again. Just pause and copy that as well. Where is that? That's the VStack. Perfect. So we need it right in there. So we're going to have an image there. That image is going to be plus.circle.fill. Okay. It's going to have a font size, the standard system font size of 35, and a foreground color of 110, 210, and 110 over 225. Okay. I'm going to re-indent everything so it's easier to look at. Save it. And let's go ahead and look at what we made. Oh, I want to do one last thing actually. So this half modal, I actually want to give it a height. Actually, so it should be modal height. Where is it? I think it's 350 is what I want, or actually 380. So let's go to the half modal view so we can make sure that's a valid. What we're trying to, so we're trying to change this modal height. It has a default value of 400, but from what I kind of experimented with, 380 is probably a little closer to what we're looking for. So we'll run it. We'll see what comes out on the other side, all right? Add new. Oh, just a small little detail, all right? We just need to fix this coloring here. We can take care of that though. All right, so that came out, everything came out the way we wanted it. Let's pick a new color. I mean a new image, So pick an image. That's kind of what we were hoping for. And we're just going to need to fix that little thing right there. Let's take a look here what we had going on. Ah, it's foreground color, that's why. This should be foreground. Okay. When you're dealing with a shape, it's actually the foreground color that you're changing, okay? So now that we have that doing what we wanted, I guess the best thing to do now is we need to have a default value for when we have no eggs or no ingredients, you know? So let's go here, and for a second, let's just take all of these and comment them out. So I can select all of them, click Command, and then /. I'll do the same thing here, Command /, okay? And what I wanted to do is I wanted to say, you're going to hear scroll view, wherever that is. We had this for each, right? And we're making an assumption that there are steps. So what we'll put here is we'll say, for steps, we'll say if steps.count is greater than 0. Such a simple little thing to add, okay? I'll select all that, and I'll put that inside. I think we had an extra one of those. I could totally be wrong. Let's just check. Yeah, I accidentally had an extra one. So we'll go forward again. So you just drag that in, okay? So we'll save it. But if it doesn't, we'll just put a text that says add, or even better, we can actually put a button that we can put the same button here inside instead. So we can just have to say add steps. Let's see what happens. It's a bit of a gamble, but we'll see what happens. Add some steps. There you go. Same principle, right? Or what we can even do, we can take it back out a step. Actually, let's just leave it like this for now, and we will get rid of that font headline. We'll just give it a foreground color of gray. Now I'm actually gonna take this whole thing. I'm gonna copy it. I'm gonna move my way up to ingredients. I'm gonna paste it up there, and I'm gonna grab this for each. I'm gonna replace that in here. And I'm gonna change the steps to ingredients. I'm just gonna say add some ingredients. We'll run it. Let's see what that looks like. All right. We're doing pretty good. So that's where we want it to be. We'll save it. Now what we want to be able to do is actually add ingredients. So I guess in the next video what we're going to do is we're going to set up the functions for adding ingredients to the ingredients list and steps to the step list, and then from there we can add a picture and submit the whole thing to Firestore. All right, so I'll see you in the next video.